Hey everybody, this is Joel here. I wanted to do a quick film review because it's been years since I've tried to do one and just wanted to get my thoughts out there about this little mini series that I just finished called The Haunting of Hill House. So without any further ado, let's get started. So, The Haunting of Hill House. It's a mini series by a director named Mike Flanagan, who directed a film called Oculus. That was one of his biggest claims to fame, I guess you could say. And this guy's a really talented filmmaker. He plays with so many different shot styles and really focuses on tone. And the audio mixing in the show is just incredible. There was just a lot of very intricate detail put into plot, character motivation and development, character relationships, just focusing on human conflict and inner turmoil, coming to terms with death, things like addiction, mental illness, just how all these things converge into a dynamic in this particular family that's focused on in the show, where they kind of are having this conflict of their own inner turmoil mixed with the conflict of the family butting heads over events that traumatize them from a very young age. And this series is very unique in the sense that it's a horror genre flick that focuses not only on characters in their adult lives, but from the perspective of their childhood and how that affected them in their adult life. So it's a very, very intricately woven web of episodes that really digs into the emotional motivation of every character, the reactions that people have to events in their lives that are extremely traumatic, and it also throws the paranormal supernatural element into the mix as well. And you really just, at the end of the day, this show is a wonderful example of storytelling through the lens of just a handful of really well-developed characters. Now I have to say that initially this show, it takes a little bit of time to get into, because the dynamic is always present and it does hook you in the sense that you're interested in seeing this kind of unique dynamic that you don't see in much horror cinema. The family, like seeing them from childhood and adulthood and seeing how it all fits together. It kind of starts this maze that you want to keep walking through, but it is a little slow to start out with. But once you get a few episodes in, it really just starts to get mesmerizing, and you need to know what happens next, and you need to know like where these characters are going and where they're being led by these paranormal events. And it really just like is some genius like psychological juggling of trauma and family like dysfunctionality and dealing with real like nitty-gritty issues in life, like coping with the death of a loved one. And the show just blends all of these elements very, very carefully. That being said, I have to say that this series does end on kind of a low note. Like the whole series really digs into these hard things that people have to go through, and just like how you end up reacting and the person that you become because of these things. And then it kind of tries to have like a positive, uplifting ending, and it's not really what you want out of a horror genre film. Like you have to end with either this kind of middle ground of like bittersweet, or you have to just go like utter depressing and like all hope is lost. And honestly, like, that's what most horror content goes with, and it does it in a really cheesy way where it's like, oh yeah, the bad guy can't die and he just comes back and he's unstoppable, and it's really cheesy, kind of the Freddy Krueger effect, if you will. And this show really does a good job at not focusing on the tropes of horror and thriller genre content, and really focuses on storytelling, world building, and character relationships. And just the uniqueness of each character is really focused on in individual episodes, and the cinematic style is really good at making you feel like you're there with the characters, or really helping you to understand things from their perspective. There's just so many different episodes with so many different cinematic styles that it's really hard to kind of like, you know, just attribute one element of cinematic storytelling to this. It's just so dynamic, and I would recommend this show for people that are looking to get into or develop their skills in the cinematic arts, simply because the shots and the audio mixing, if you're an audio person or like a director of photography, like, this is the series for you, because it plays with a lot of different styles. So I'm not going to really go into any intricate detail on the show. I just kind of wanted to get my initial thoughts out there. I'd give this film like a good 8 out of 10. The reason that it's not any higher is because, well, the buildup is like some of the best filmmaking in the horror genre I've ever seen. The ending really falls flat, and I didn't like it at all. It really felt different as far as tone and what they were going for, and it felt kind of like a cheap fan fiction of the rest of the series building up to that point, which I know, like, most horror suffers from that. Like, the ending just kind of sucks. But, you know, that's no reason to not check out the rest of the episodes in the series and take away some really emotionally punching, like, moments from it. And, yeah, as far as horror genre dramatization goes, it's some of the best stuff I've ever seen, really. And, you know, we need more stuff like that in the horror genre, because most horror movies just kind of suck, honestly. Like, the plot is terrible, the character motivation is terrible, the development is just very one note and not very intricate, and usually the characters just aren't that interesting. And this show, like, has very interesting characters, and you just want to keep understanding the emotional trauma and motivation of all of the characters, and why it is that their lives are so screwed up, and you want to understand, like, what affected them, and how does that affect their relationship with their other members of the family, and how is that playing into their decision making, and how will it affect them in relation to the supernatural activity that's going on around them, and how are they being coerced by these unknown forces, and what are these unknown forces? And all these questions just kind of come up as you're watching it, and it really sucks you in and makes you want to keep understanding what's going on. So that being said, I would highly recommend that anybody watch it that's really into horror genre, thriller, suspense type things. Like, it's got some great scares, and even some of the jump scares are really good. Like, usually I hate jump scares because they're just cheap tricks, and you just turn up the noise when you want to scare people for half a second. But some of them actually, like, make sense in the context of what's going on. But yeah, anyway, that's just my initial thoughts on the film, or on the series, I guess I should say. And I want to hear your thoughts as well, so just comment and let me know what you thought about it. Anyway, this is Joel, and I will see you next time, guys. I really want to keep doing these reviews and just digging into the meaning behind film, if you will, the essence of cinema. Yes. Anyway, I'll see you next time, guys. Have a good rest of your day.